Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we're looking at this guy right here, BL07. I did this video two times before I actually did the video. The first time the video did not have any sound for some reason. I don't know why. And the second time I accidentally deleted it because I thought it was an older video. So now we're going to be looking at these now. Let's start out with the specs. So spec-wise, we have... And if this thing would actually focus, I thought my eyes were going. I'll just hold it up myself. So spec-wise, we have 115 decibels. It's 16 ohms. The connector is 1.2 meters. Your color options are light gunmetal, white steel, which is chrome, and purplish blue, which is just purple. Frequency response, 20 to 20 kilohertz. It's a 3.5 millimeter gold-plated straight cable. The driver unit inside is a 10 millimeter. So, yeah. Okay, that's basically all the basic things that you have to know about the WGZB Blon. Music and Dreams Let Music Burn since 2014. I like that they added that at the top there. It's a nice packaging. It's solid. It's a solid package. It's a little less longer than the original packages, which were kind of not the easiest things to store because they were long. They're plastic, and they had the tab that you would hang on a peg, and it just kind of didn't fit in the boxes very well with things. But this box is decent. It's simple. It gives you the information you need and gets out of the way. Now, of course, opening up, we would have the Blon units if I hadn't tried them already. And then down in here, you're going to have the tips, which I'm not particularly impressed with the tips. But you'd have that new Blon cable, so you have your kind of these funky cone-shaped ones that came on the unit. You have your cable right here, which is the best cable that Blon's come up with. You know, if you compare this with the original cable that was all just kinky and tangly, well, this isn't the best cable in the world. This is really like nice plastic, PVC, soft. It doesn't tangle half as much. It's got metal fittings. There's a metal splitter there. There's a metal straight plug right there. And overall, it's just nicer than the average Blon. And of course, we have that potato sack thing that they give you. And I'm not unimpressed with that, to be honest. They give you that with everything. They're consistent. They've had this since day one, this canvas. It's a heavy canvas pouch. I mean, this isn't going to protect anything other than the unit from scratches, perhaps. There's supposed to be another pack. Yeah, it fell out right here. Another pack of round and cone-shaped tips. And then we have the units themselves, which I'm keeping in this hard case here. I have a bunch of cases, metal, soft. But this hard one in particular is my favorite. Do I have the Blons connected? I don't. So here's another Blon cable, which is the same cable. They started this with the Mini, I believe. And ever since then, they've gone with this cable. And I absolutely like this cable. I don't love the cable. I mean, there are a lot of really nice aftermarket cables. But I think this one came with the Mini, to be honest. And this is the one that I use for testing all the time. I don't even bother to unpack the cable. You see it's still tied. Why bother when the cables are all the same? They're not any different whatsoever, so you can just get away with doing that. And I also have an aftermarket cable put aside that I'll use later on for my personal use. See the vents there? Nice shape to this Blon. It kind of has that kind of, not necessarily guitar pick shape, but that similar shape that some of the other IAMs adopt. Although this one has like these cool angles that they went with. And Blon always makes things that look differently. And I'm thankful that they made this one look different, but at the same time be a more easier fit in the ear for most people, because a lot of people had a heck of a time with the 03, the 01, the Max, which was probably a nightmare for people with smaller ears. And that was a very good IAM. It had its nice strong points, especially being dual dynamics. This one is a single dynamic driver. They went back to the basics here. The nozzle is a little on the wide side. Not too bad, wider than some that I've used. Nice mesh there. A little less wider than a couple of the Blons that I've used, and a little longer than some. So they're always changing that. This one, decent job with the design. I find it comfortable in my ears. I like it very much. And of course, testing purposes, as always, we always use the stock tips and everything. I just switch over to the round because the cone ones, to me, the cone ones just, I don't like them. In my ears, they make it sound all, the bass gets sucked out of them and everything. So I'm using stock tips, the rounder ones that come with it, and the stock cable always for testing. That said, let's get into the sound. I don't want to drag this on for hours. You want to know what this Blon sounds like. I've showed you the accessories. I told you that it's comfortable. It's definitely made solid. I mean, I haven't met a Blon that wasn't made very nice. And although it does feel a little heavy, it doesn't feel that way in the ears. It's definitely lighter than the Max. I'm amazed if you Google this that my review conclusion is actually the first thing you see on Google. That is pretty damn good. I like that. It's nice to see yourself out there. Yeah, so anyway, my conclusion was that I think that Blon, they've had some good tries. They've been a little bit lackluster. But each one has had like its strong points. Like the Max, the bass was definitely a strong point for people that love bass. I think that this one has much of what the 03 had, but I think that it's tuned just a little bit better. There's less bass fatigue. There's very good mids here. And honestly, I can see a lot of people liking this. But I'm going to get into my full review with the sound. Now, mid-range on this is good. So I'm just going to say that outright. We'll start with the mid-range. Now, the bass here is good. I'll start with the bass, actually. Why bother to go through the middle? Bass is good. It's falling somewhere between the 03 and the Max with its bass. It seems to have a little bit more bass presence than the 03, but it's controlled more, so there's less fatigue there. Definitely less bass than the Max, but it's a better bass. Like I said, it's a better quality bass. But this is definitely kind of a wide V shape. I've heard people say this is a U shape. I could agree with that to some point because the mids are very pleasant. But getting on with the subject of the bass, the bass and sub bass has very, very good impact. There's a very, very good amount of bass here, but it's not overpowering by any means. It's not muddy. I think that the sub bass is a little bit more powerful than the mid bass, but there's definitely some good control there. There's a nice rumble to it on the low end side. Mid bass is faster, a little on the thick, but not bloated. The bass does bleed into the lower mids, giving them some warmth. And on that, we'll get into the mids now, which I should have gotten into. The mids are really good on these. Mid-range is forward. It has some warmth in the lowers. Vocals really sound clear, quite pleasant, especially in most types of music. Getting into like older recordings, like classic rock and stuff, you might see some recession there in the mids. But other than that, there isn't really much of a recession in any other thing like pop music and everything. It sounds very clear, very rich. The upper mids sometimes can get a little bit more forward in your face, but not too shouty. There's no harshness there. I suppose with a really poor recorded track, it would sound shouty. Still, the mids are very good. I think the mids are pretty good. They're similar to the 05S, maybe. I'd have to do a side-by-side comparison, but the mids are very good, keeping it that way. Now, treble sounds neutral. It's airy sounding. It's got a little bit of above average sparkle to the top. It presents with a little bit more emphasis than normal and that, but it's not harsh. It's not overpowering. People that are treble sensitive definitely will find this a little bit more pleasant than, say, KZ's offerings. Getting into Soundstage, it has a very wide spread soundstage. The width is good, more so than its depth. Depth is decent. It's above average, but it does sound, overall, it does sound like it has a nice wide soundstage. Nothing holographic or, like 7.1 or anything like that. But it still has a decent width for it, considering this is something you stick in your ear and it's closed back. Separation and imaging are better than average. I think that tracks that are really busy kind of impacts that a little bit, but it does handle its own for most things. And definitely good enough for mobile gaming, totally. Now, like I said, I gave you the conclusion earlier because that was actually up on Google. I looked up Google for a second and was trying to find my review on this, and immediately I see my review on Google, so that was pretty good. Like I said, Blon is hit or miss with some people. Sometimes they make something good. Sometimes they make something specific for a bass head, for somebody looking for something with really good technicalities, stuff like that. Never all in one unit. They still haven't quite done that, although the 05 was very good. The 05S, excuse me, the 05 sucked. To be quite honest, I did not like the 05 at all. The BLT3 was kind of dark, but it still was decent. I didn't like the fact that the cable was non-removable. The BL03 is always going to be kind of that measuring point from this company. But I think this one takes a lot of the stuff that the 03 has, and it does a good job of just tuning that just a little bit different. Is this an upgrade for the 03? Probably not. Probably not. But for some, I think if you like the 03, you're going to like this one. Definitely. I like this one. I'm deciding whether this is going to be in my favorites or not. Actually, I always keep all the Blons out because, I don't know, it's just always coming out with a new Blon. And when they do come out with a new Blon, there's always something just a little bit different about one as opposed to the other. I think a lot of Blons, mostly, the fit has been a big struggle because they make such crazy shapes. Although the Mini fit in my ear is really good. The Mini did a really good job. But it was just a bass-heavy V shape. And I'm not going to say every Blon seems to sound pretty fun. I didn't really like the 05, but the 05S improved upon that. Kind of wish they had come out with a couple more different colors other than that vintage seafoam green for the 05S. But nonetheless, it sounds really good. It's always going to remain in my grab ones when I want to have something to enjoy. And I think this will be up there with them. It'll be the 03, this, and the 05S, totally. Maybe the 01, and maybe the Max when I want to get some of that nice bass. And the Mini too, for the bass. But other than that, this is a good all around. I think a lot of people will generally like this for what it brings to the table. I don't know where the box went. But anyway, this has been the Blon 07. Thanks so much for watching, and please be safe.